Hello everyone, it's Uncle Terry here. It's Saturday out at my country park. Whatever, I can't quite remember what the date is today, but that's not the point here. I was testing out some of Randy Horton's detecting out in the field, his theories and stuff, and I'm working on the harmonic tones that if you're got over a good target, a good high tone, is to start moving the coil backwards towards you, and as you do, if the tone stays consistent high tone as it drops off the end of the nose of your coil, then pretty much you know you got a good target or a coin, depending on what your reading is or what you're after. Say like a 44 or something. If it stays within 2 notches of that, in other words, 1 notch above and 1 notch below, but it stays in that high tone and it drops off high, pretty much you got yourself a coin down there. You're a dime, quarter, or whatever that you're looking for that's within that high tone. But if doing that as you're working the coil back to you over that initially high tone, and the harmonics start changing, fluctuating, and they drop off in a low tone thud or whatnot, you can pretty much guarantee you got a piece of scrap down there, an iron or a target really not worth your trouble digging. But as you're doing that, you want to check that on a couple of different angles to see if the high tone stays as you X around it, and if it still drops off high, then you know you got something good. And I got something here that I just want to show you, that his little experiment. See if I can keep let me zoom back out a little bit. This way you can see the head of the coil and the number. Now in the X-Terra 05, the last reading always stays the same until it comes over another target. That's why it's still reading that. So let me show you here. Show you this target, how it was reading high at one point. See that? Now listen, as I drag it back. See, if it dropped off in like a thud, low tones, that's pretty much guarantees it's junk. I'll go at it at another 90 degree here. See, now this one, it pretty much identifies it as that altogether. Let's go at another one. See, it doesn't stay. But I bet you we'll go back to the high tone over here. See, it drops off. Now right there it dropped off to a low of 12. The other direction it dropped off to like a -6. So let's go back to this direction till we pick it up. I'm moving it real small little wiggles. And see that drop? I mean, just right there at the tip. So let's go dig that and we'll see if we can prove that. Let's see what's there. No use using the pinpoint. You can see it's probably around 8, somewhere between 6 and 8. Those dots are about that. So we're going to have to do this one-handed here. We're going to have to mark it. It's right there. So let's see what we got. Pretty sure it's junk. Yep, look at that. It was a bottle cap. It was good, really good sounding along one path this way, but the other direction. You notice how it stayed kind of low, except for this way I went to 12. So I'll have to remember that. Well, I have found a couple of pennies using his method and it stayed high and consistent. When I get one of those, I'll let you see that. Until then, see you later. It's only been about like 5 minutes. And here I got one that I believe I got a penny, most likely. So here, we'll do with that again, and you see how the tone stays consistent until it drops off. It doesn't change. Just watch the BDI in my coil. You see that? Or hear that? That the harmonic didn't change into blended harmonics. It stayed the same. And I've already done this in 2 different angles. What you see here. We'll go at a different 90 degree here. Let me try to get it focused in. Yeah, find it again. I'm not quite over the spot. That's what happens when you're trying to focus the camera in on my spot. I lost my spot. There it is. Okay, it's right there in that clump. I think I got it right in the right spot. So I'm going to dig this one. See that? That should be a penny right there at the tip of the coil. Let me put my foot there. I'm going to set this thing down. There's no really need to use the pinpointer. The elliptical coil is very good at pinpointing because you got that football-like shape. So, I'm going to have to remark it with the other foot because I got to grab the lash over here. So it should be right in there. And it's going to be kind of hard digging again. I got to hold the camera. I'm not using my phone, I'm using my brick camera here. This ground is not going to let me dig a real good hole. Like I say, this is an old country park. There should be a coin here. Let's give that a flip. And get the pinpointer. I'm using a different pinpointer. My Nokia I gotta send back in. I believe the power trigger, there's something messed up in it because it would give one long tone and you click the power and the minus button and then it gives a very rapid beeping, but you can't get it to do it with the ring connected on it. But anyway, okay, right there. Hear that? Okay, let's take a scoop of dirt out. I didn't. I guess it's still in the hole, right there. Alright, let's give a poke here with the knife. It's going to make you out to be a liar, or what? See, you got some rock. Let's give it. Okay, it must be out. There it is. See it? A little penny, just like I thought it was. Just a memorial, but it's the theory that we're working on, his working detecting theories and practices. You can see how well that works, and I'm sure that should be able to work just about any other detector if you have multiple tones. That's the whole key to this method of those harmonics. I have it in multiple tones. I mean, it has 1 to 4 you can use in patterns. Then you can also change it to multiples up to 99, and you can reset that. That's where I have it set at, and it works great. I mean, it's a little harder to use that in just the 1 to 4 tones because it's the harmonics, as he says, if I have to do a little bit more reading, doesn't change as abruptly. It could just, that tone could just stay the same for bad or good, and you wouldn't really know till you dug. But this little theory really works, and I'm sure it will work with the concentrics and the others as well. But in your concentric, as he says, the tone will change just before the end of the coil passes over the target, just because of the dynamics of the concentric versus your double D. It's a little, the windings are a little bit different, but that will work. So let's hope we can dig up something good out here besides just a bunch of pennies. If I come up with something other than a penny, just regular memorials or a weedy, I'll definitely let you see that. I found one weedy out here, but it was pretty much one face of it was destroyed. So let me get back to working on some of Randy Horton's detecting practices with this, and I can really get honed in on that. Working with the multiple tones isn't as hard as some people may let you to believe. You just really got to listen first. Don't be watching the numbers. Listen for your consistency of sound and tone, and then you check your numbers to see what exactly you got down there, or a nickel, a quarter, or silver coin, or whatnot. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for consistency and consistencies, not only in your location where you're hunting, but the type of tone you're hearing. So, Uncle Terry, we'll get back to you when I find something good. I'm back here, and I've done that little detecting practice of what Randy Horton said to do, you know, that harmonic thing, and this was staying consistent within a 36 to a 40, dropping to either side of the 38. This undoubtedly has to be a penny here. I did this once before from the time that you have seen me to here, and it ended up being a penny, but there was a couple other little things in there, real tiny little pieces of tack, like tack nails, and for whatever reason it gave me like an 18-inch depth or whatnot, and maybe because the penny was shallow or something like that. It has something to do with machines can do that, and they ended up being virtually just in the roots. So let's dig that and see if that is what we got. Just put my small little screwdriver there as a center point. Should be practically under it, and you can see this ground, because it's so full of weeds and whatnot, there's almost no way to hinge this over. It's a really bad area. They don't there's no irrigation out here. This is that little country park that I went through with my Tesoro, the Robinsons country park, which excuse me, used to be a very shallow lake back in the 30s, and just in the early 90s they filled it in. So let's get out the pinpointer. I'm gonna loosen some more of this up. This, in case you were interested in what the pinpointer I got, I just went with a $89 what's it pronounced? Deteknix Xpointer, I think is what they also call it. They do have a waterproof variety, which they call the wader. It's a bit, the staff is a bit longer. You can actually see old Digger Dan tested out there on the beach there in England, and he recommends it. And so I just got the little water resistant little guy here until I can get my Nokia sent in. I gotta look up my paperwork on it so I can do that. Now let's turn this on. Well, apparently it's about right there. So let's take a handful of dirt and pop it up here. Yep, we got it out. Let's put this back. Turn that off. And let's get the penny. I'm sure it's a penny. Excuse me, I'm trying to hold the camera a little better. My hand's cramping. This is a bit of a brick. If you ever looked up the SX40HS, you see what I mean. But I wanted to be able to see what I'm looking at so I can get it in the frame. I'm still having difficulty. And it is what I said it was going to be. And when you use some of those practices that he talks about in his ebook, Understanding Your X-Terra, which you could probably find anywhere. If you looked up Randy Horton or on the Finding Treasure forum under the X-Terra forum, there's a link in there. If you just type it up, the X-Terra, Understanding Your X-Terra 705, it will come up. And a lot of the information in there you can use, transcend to any other type of machine just about. But there is some stuff in there that is specific to the X-Terra. So if you have one of these and you're not quite understanding how to set it up and your patterns and stuff, what I use, let me show you here. I have it in discrimination mode. I have it on pattern 1, but I re-enabled a lot of the notches that it had knocked out because I didn't want it to mask anything or blank over something. Like if you have a bunch of junk in around a nice coin or a nice piece of treasure or whatnot, you can hear your machine, because it has a small threshold. Even when you're using in discrimination mode, you can actually hear it cut out, and that's it. That's the machine discriminating, also discriminating out, you know, your irons and whatnot. Or so if there was, and it could indicate that there was something in between all that stuff when it blinks out like that. Probably not explaining that well, but I do plan on getting the 3 kilohertz 9-inch concentric, because it is it actually is better as what he says at not discriminating but indicating deep iron. So it potentially a lot hotter on silver and higher conductive materials like your silver coins and things of that nature. And but if you want to find treasure or jewelry and such, actually I believe he recommends up, you know, the kilohertz and the average, the what is it? Rambling. The one of the stocks, I believe it's stock 9-inch waterproof coil. That's a 7.5, which is a good all-around coil. Or of course, like what I got here, the elliptical 18.75 kilohertz, which is mainly hot on gold nuggets, little stuff like that, tiny objects. And I guess it's actually a good coil to have if you're hunting the dry sands on beaches looking for jewelry and things like of that nature. But that's one of the next coils I want to get for it, and then try that out. I guess the lower kilohertz just works a little better for the silver. Well, let's fill this in, and hopefully I can actually find something else besides just pennies. That's all I found, pennies and foil. I did get fooled on a big junky piece of foil. Let me show you here. Look. This old big junky. It was still giving a nice high tone, you know, not in the coin range, but there's other things that come in around 18 to 20, and that's where it was coming, 18, 20, and sometimes it would drop down to 16. But it was staying pretty high when it dropped off the coin. I think there was a slight variation, but not like the big thunk that you hear on other stuff. So I dug it anyway just to see, but sometimes you got to dig that if you want to get to the smaller bits of jewelry and gold rings and stuff. Okay, well, that's enough of me rambling and tripping over my tongue for now. We'll get back to Don't you hate those aluminum can signals? They just sound so good that you just start digging and I think you're going to get something great, like a ring or silver or something. Nice clear 30. Someone sold Coors can. Alcohol. Well, maybe there'll be something good next time. Well, I'm at a different park. I'm out at this baseball soccer field. I don't hunt out in the activity area because there's just more chance of getting in trouble. But I'll do that when the activities are over. But I found my second ring metal detecting. It's still a little little junky ring. You can see it there. So you can see a little better look. It's just a little kid's junker. But it's still a ring, my second ring. I just need to find the good ones, the silvers and golds. Found it right here. It was a ring up a solid 26. I mean, it did jump between 18 and 26, but a couple of the angles I went on, it stayed there, and the tone didn't change though, even though it was jumping. That little trick of Randy Horton's, when I backed down off it, the tone didn't really drop. So I thought, well, I'll go ahead and dig it, and it was, oh, let's say 6 inches down there. So that was nice. I'll get back to you when we get another. Just about a foot over from where I found that little junk ring, I found a nickel and a dime. One reason I'm showing you because of the interesting number. They were actually stuck together, and it read a solid, it went 1824, 1824, and then it stayed on 24. But of course the nickel, when I wave them in front of the coil separately, the dime brings up 40 and the nickel 14. So it's almost like splitting the difference. When they were stuck together, it was reading 24. So that might be something for y'all to remember when you get that type of signal on the X-Terra. You could have a nickel and a dime adjacent to each other or laying right on top of each other. Well, until the next one. Well, maybe my next to the last dig. I have another signal right over there by the old dog poop of 44. So we're going to dig this penny signal here and see if that's what it is. I think I already got the little plug ready to pop out. Well, push it up there. Got the pinpointer already on. Right there. I didn't film it, but right over in there or so, I ran into a 35-cent coin spill. Quarter, a nickel, and 5 pennies. Okay, that should be a penny right in there, huh? Let me take a look. Okay. I'm actually using the tip of the coil still to actually pinpoint exactly about. Occasionally I use the actual pinpoint function to see how far. Oh, there it is. I just hit it. Pretty sure that was, yep, I think, yep, hear that? A little scrape sound of a penny being poked at. It's real hard to do this with one hand. One of these days I'll invest in one of those head straps things. Okay, I must have knocked it down. Yep. Come on, Penny. I know you're also it is. I knocked it down. There it is. You've seen it. There it is. Ah, good old Lincoln. Oh. Into the pouch. And let me clean this up and I'll let you have a look at what's over there. It's right in here. That was a 44. So that means it's pretty shallow. Let's just pop it, break it loose here like this. See what we got. Looks like on the other side. Okay. There we are. There it is. There's our quarter, our third quarter of the day. Alright, I'm going to detect my way back over to there and head home for dinner. See you. Now, look at this little, looks like a doorknob, but it's not. It's got a little Phillips screw there. It rings up a 30 on the X-Terra. It's really encrusted, so it must be copper. I mean, that's right around the copper penny, I believe. And when I get home and knock some crud off it, we'll find out just what the heck it was. Well, we'll give you a look at some of the countryside where I live here. This is Mountain View Road, Mountain View Park, just to the right of that road here where I just got done hunting. All the wheat coming in. That mountain way off. It looks way off, but it's not that far off. That's Moscow Mountain. I'll give you a closer look. There you go. I might take a drive up there one day, up with some of the fire roads and see what I can find, or just for a nice look.